James chapter 1, 19 through 22. You should be familiar with this because we read a portion of it last week. And we are going to be kind of just setting up camp around this for the next couple of weeks. And we're just going to address certain portions of this sermon series that we're in called Conviction. That should tell you something right there. So you can expect a conviction today, not coming from me, but I pray that coming from the Holy Spirit. Convictions aren't always negative. Convictions are to draw you closer to God. Please know that. All right, convictions are never to send you somewhere that people like to point out, right? But convictions are always to deliver you into the arms of God and to grow our Christian character and the life of discipleship, which is to say that you should be different today than you were last week or the week before or the year before that. Why? Because you're growing in Christian discipleship and being closer and more in line with the person of Jesus Christ in your life through conviction. All right? And so we're going to talk about that today, but listen to these words. You must understand this, my beloved. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, for your anger does not produce God's righteousness. Therefore, rid yourselves of all sordidness and rank growth of wickedness, and welcome with meekness the implanted word that has the power to save your souls. What beautiful words is that? But be doers of the word and not merely hearers who deceive themselves. This is the word of God for us, the people of God. Amen. So last week I kind of addressed, be doers of the word, and it takes conviction, and it's just not enough to know something. You have to have a conviction that enables you to carry these things out. And today we're going to go back up to the beginning portion of this verse, and we're going to address quick to listen. All right, quick to listen. And listening, it's the easiest thing in the world. Everyone here should be able to be experts at it by now. Not, all right? So, we start off with that. So, and then next week, just a heads up, I'm going to address slow to speak. All right? In other words, watch how we speak, and then we'll move into other things, all right? But, so, conviction to be quick to listen. So let's start off with a couple questions that I can't answer for you. You're going to have to answer for yourself. So let's enter into a time of self-reflection. If someone were to ask you if you're a good listener, what would you say? Well, that was rhetorical, guys. I should have been a comedian. All right, Joanne. Because did you hear me? How many answers? I'm going to ask you a question. I can't answer this for you. You have to answer for yourself. Let us enter into a time of reflection, silent self-reflection. Now that I know all about you and who's the good listener and sometimes not. Listen, again, if someone were to ask you if you're a good listener, what would you say? Here's the thing. Of course you're going to give an answer, but you can't possibly give an accurate answer of that. If you say you're a good listener, you're full of pride. Right? It's like Christianity is weird like that. Be a good listener. All right? I've become a good listener. Be a little modest. Be humble. You can't win, right? But let's try it this way. Looking over your past week or the past 2 weeks, if I were to ask one of the people that have come up to you and spoken to you within the past 2 weeks, would they say, well, how would they answer the question? Is so-and-so a good listener or not? That's better. Because the people around you can give you the proper answer. You know what I mean? And they're the ones that have to, listen to you. And they're the ones that speak to you. So you can't entirely, you might have an idea of what kind of listener you are. But trust me, the people that are around you are the ones that are able to actually answer that question. So what would they say about you? Are you a good listener or not? So what do you think is harder to do? Right? That's an easy question to answer. The listening portion of this verse or the speaking part. Which one's harder? Listening or speaking? Listening. Listening is hard work. All right? How about this? What would you prefer to do? Listen or speak? Right? You would probably prefer to speak. I'm not talking about public speaking, okay? I recognize how weird it is to stand up here and talk about speaking and listening, all right? You better be listening right now, all right? Because, this is the one sermon you have to listen and, not, doze off or anything like that because it's all about listening, all right? So if anyone can answer the question, are you a good listener or not, I can answer that after today, all right? I see all of you right now. You're in front of me, all right? Okay, but listen, listening is difficult to do because it's hard work. It actually takes concentration to do. It takes dropping everything that you are thinking about in your head and feeling in your heart at that time to literally, truly hear the other person. So how good are you at setting things aside? Because those things that you go through on a daily basis from moment to moment are very important. And then someone comes along and says, hey, guess what? Listen to this. You're like, no, right? I'm thinking about something right there. Listening is difficult. Speaking is easy. So if we're being honest, most of us prefer talking over listening, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. Did you know that when you are, if anyone here has ever gotten engaged in public speaking, when you're the one speaking, time speeds up. When you're the one listening, time slows down, right? And everyone right now is, boy, do we know that, right? It does, okay? I can guarantee you time's moving faster for me right now because I'm speaking than you right now because listening, all right? My 2 minutes might feel like 10 minutes to you. I hope it's not so early in the sermon. We got some digging to do here, okay? But that's the truth, all right? So listen to this. In most scenarios, it's more beneficial to listen. In most scenarios. All right? When we listen, it means that we're taking a certain posture that allows us to learn. Because that's what you listen to someone, you're learning about their story and what they're trying to say, or you're just listening, right? You're learning something. And from that, we can make the inference that the more we listen, the more we learn, right? To go even further into this equation, one would think that people in generally then would be eager to listen, right? Not. All right? Gee, I can learn more when I listen more, but I don't want to listen more. And we'll answer that, the why to that in a second. As it turns out, people love to talk. And more than that, people love to talk over and against listening because when you're the one talking, all attention's on you. You really do have the spotlight when you're talking, no matter who you're talking to. And right now, I'm specifically talking about the personal one-on-one conversations that you have with each other, right? Trust me, if you listen to the sermon carefully after today, you're going to pay attention to how much you're listening and how much you're talking during your conversations, at least for a couple days, and then it'll fade. And then we'll have a reset next week, and we'll talk about speaking, okay? But you're going to pay attention. So why is the posture of listening so difficult for so many people? Have you ever wondered that? Of course I have. I mean, I wrote a sermon on it, okay? For one, we're generally a very distracted people living in a world full of distractions, are we not? There's like everything. Just look around. There's something that will distract everyone. And those are the outer distractions that we see. Right? Like right now I'm looking over here, I can see like stuff from my peripherals that are going on that can be somewhat distracting. Like Evelyn over there taking a big sip out of a 30-gallon drink cup right now. It's amazing what I see when I preach. I can do that because we're married and I'll pay for that later. But seriously, we are surrounded by distractions. The stuff you'd be amazed with that I think about in my inner world, because we're distracted in our inner world. All right, there's a whole, and trust me, you don't want to be inside this brain right here. Okay, right now I'm thinking about calzones. You know what I mean? And cheese, and what are we going to have for dinner? And oh my gosh, I do, and those things come into mind. This is why I have notes. All right, and the point is, we're so distracted. Like, do you want to sneeze right now? Does that have anything to do with the sermon? Right? We are so distracted by everything. Our outer world, our inner world, you name it, okay? And it just pulls us in every single direction. It's amazing that we're able to focus on anything at all, right? Oh my gosh. And so here's the thing. When someone approaches you and starts talking, all right, they don't realize that they have the monumental task of having to say something to you that generates enough interest to somehow break the barrier of all that is distracting you inside and out and all the drama that life is throwing at you and get you to listen to them. That's a task. these days, when you go up to someone to start a conversation, you have to break through all that to get them to listen to you. And while they're talking to you, you're thinking, I don't have time for this. How many people have thought that? Don't say you haven't. Right? This doesn't matter to me. You know, why does your trip to the dental hygienist matter to me? You're a dental, okay. Why do they always start conversations when they're in your chair and you have things in your mouth? So, how was your weekend? Right? You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's how you feel when someone approaches you and you're like, this doesn't matter. Why are you talking to me about this right now? But listen to this. It matters to them. It matters to them. I want to add to that. It matters to them. Does that matter to you? It matters to them. Does that matter to you? No matter what words are coming out of their mouths, it matters. And when they are not listened to, it hurts. It really does. It hurts just like when you are not listened to, it hurts. Doesn't it? I mean, there's only so many times you can blow that off, right? It matters to them. And here's what's pretty cool, I think. They chose you to tell what matters to them. They chose you to tell that to. And your response like, oh, I don't care, right? I don't care. You know, so you swatted 3 flies, whatever. How's that important, right? I don't care. But it matters to them. It matters. When you take the time to truly listen to someone, it sends the message that you care and that you respect them and what they have to say matters. But when you don't listen, it sends the exact opposite message. Do you think it's just neutral? It sends the exact opposite message, and even worse, it sends the message that whatever you're going through and whatever is distracting you at that moment is more important than anything they are going through. It may be, but they don't know that. They matter. Like when you're looking at your phone while the other person is trying to talk. That's the thing I think we've all experienced that. The hold on a second. Some people add an extra insult, hold on a second, right? With that, don't do that to me. I'm a very outspoken person. I can be aggressive, okay? You haven't seen it yet, all right? But don't do that, don't do that. It's just rude, but it hurts the other person. It says they don't matter, you know? And you can't tell me that doesn't make the person talking to you feel unimportant. Hey, guess what? Hold on a second. You know, oh, okay, I'll just go, whatever, see you. It hurts. So we as Christians have the task of being and becoming better, what? Listeners. That's the solution right there. And so how do we do that? How do we become better listeners? Well, the first thing that we have to do is learn how to put all of our distractions on hold and commit to focusing all of your attention on the other person. Check. Listen, that's not easy to do. It's not easy to do at all. But it's important to the other person. Chances are what you're thinking about, what you're going through, is going to be there after the conversation. Right? And listen, if it's really urgent, you can communicate that to the other person without blowing them off. All right? So I want to repeat that. The first thing that we have to do is learn how to put all of our distractions on hold and commit to focusing all of your attention to the other person. By the way, you ever get into a conversation, you want to say something, you're like, you go first. No, you go first. Okay. You know what I mean? What does that look like? It just makes what they're going through less important, right? Oh, I got something to tell you. I got something to tell you too. You go first. Okay. Right? You know what I mean? There is that feeling, that emotion there. And listen, if you can't put things aside and you're so busy and you're feeling all this, if you can't put that aside to listen to them at that particular moment, guess what? There's an answer to that. Let them know. They can handle it. Let them know. We're so sensitive to hurt other people's feelings. Let them deal with it. Sorry, that sounds hard. Let them deal with it. There are ways to say that. Let them know that they deserve your full attention. Listen, you deserve my full attention, but I can't get that to you right now. I'm going to be distracted by listening to you. You deserve my full attention. Can we talk about this in a little bit? That's really polite and really respectful, if you ask me, when you do something like that, rather than not now. Right? Hey, guess what? Not now. Ooh, you just did that, right? Gosh. Here's another thing that we have to be aware of. Good listeners don't interrupt. Okay? Good listeners do not interrupt. A lot of us are only listening to do just that. You're just waiting for that space in the conversation to say what you want to say. All right? There it is. There's my opening. And then you say something. Maybe it's related to what they're talking about. Maybe it's not. But good listeners do not interrupt. Trust me, I do it all the time with Evelyn. All right? And I'm not joking. I'm not joking there. I do. You know what I mean? But then she reminds me, and then I stop doing it, and then good old me, I go back into that pattern again. All right? But it takes, my point there is it takes work. But good listeners don't interrupt. They fully listen to what the person has to say so they can get the full emotion, they can get the full context of everything that's going on. Because a lot of times when you interrupt, you're going to get, that's not what I'm talking about. You're going to get, you're not listening to me. They're telling you to, ready for this? Shut up and listen. All right? All right? That's exactly what the language, it might be like, you need to, a little bit, right? Okay? So that comes out that way. A good listener doesn't belittle what the other person is saying. Right? I'm going through this. Oh, that doesn't matter. I've been through that before. A good listener does not do that. A compassionate person does not do that. Okay? What you're going through matters for you enough to tell the other person. How would you like if you told them that you're going through this and said, you'll get over it, just give it a couple days. Okay, that's something you want to hear from your doctor, not your friend. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you just want to, really pay attention to this. Like I said, this is a very convicting sermon, okay? This is everything packed into that right there. Consider this. True listening doesn't mean that you're quiet. Right? Oh, man! True listening doesn't mean that you're quiet, because some of us are really good at being quiet, and although it looks like you're listening, you've checked out. All right? Just because someone is quiet doesn't mean they set a good example of being a good listener or being patient and all that stuff. Maybe they're just a quiet person, right? A quiet person can check out just as much as you can. A quiet person can roll their eyes inside their head just like you can, all right, when someone else is talking. We all do it. It's that little eyebrow movement that puts us out like this, right? Yeah. Here's another thing that you may have not considered. During all human conversations, both the one talking and the one receiving has the responsibility of interpretation. So you better listen closely, because you're not just listening. You now have to interpret what they're saying. How many people have ever heard the other person say, "You're not listening to me"? Let me see hands. Please don't let me be the only one here, okay? Otherwise, I have to go see therapy, and I'm not into that, okay? Listen, you're not listening. You do know what that translates as, right? Because you have to interpret things. It translates as, you're not understanding what I'm saying, right? In other words, you're misinterpreting me. Why? Because you're not listening. You're not hearing what I'm saying, okay? And this happens so often between spouses, right? It really does. If you've been married for a little bit or just in a relationship for a long time, you're going to hear that. And listen to it, because you're not listening. There was a time that you used to listen, and something happened where you're not listening anymore. There was a time when you understood the other person, right? And you had everything in common. They wear socks, I wear socks too. You make up the weirdest excuses because you have everything in common. All right? We don't even have to speak. They understand everything I'm saying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years go by. You're not listening to me. Do you get it? We have to become better listeners, especially within our close relationships, because it really does matter. And this goes for me as well. All right? And listen, I'm not saying that misunderstandings and misinterpretations won't happen, but they would sure happen a lot less if we became better what? Listeners. Don't you agree on that? Really? And the point is this, as Christians, we need to listen in a way that makes the other person feel respected. Really comes down to that. We must listen in a way that communicates that they have value and worth. And we must listen in a way that they feel and maybe even understand the meaning of the love of Christ. All right? And let me remind you that the love of Christ isn't going around giving everyone a hug. All right? There's so much packed into the love of Christ, okay? All right? So that's pretty important if you ask me. So no matter where you rate on the listening curve, maybe you're a poor listener, even a good one. I can't answer that question. The people around you probably will have a better idea than me. All of us, every single person here can be better listeners, right? Especially when the sermon's going on really long, right? But we could all become better listeners. And we're going to close this up, but listen to this. I picture Jesus as a very good listener, don't you? Right? I mean, my gosh, I'm talking about the prime example for someone who listens well. And I know this because he asked a lot of questions. People in conversations who ask a lot of questions tend to be very good listeners. You know what asking questions about the situation reveals too? Right? That you care. Right? By the way, not everyone wants their situation resolved. They're just trying to tell it to you. Right? They don't need the solution to come in. Right? Right? Be a good listener. Job is a good example of that, right? His friends were awesome when they were listening, but when they opened their mouths, they needed to shut up. Okay? They really did. So why was Jesus a good listener? Well, people mattered to him, so he listened to them. That's what that says. You know, and Jesus loved the people he was with. He really did. That doesn't mean he didn't get annoyed with some of them, all right? You know, he probably had the most ultimate divine eye roll. You know what I mean? But he loved the people he was with. I don't get the sense that Jesus was a poor listener. I don't get the sense that he interrupted people, you know, midway through their sentences. Can you help me? You know, you're telling a story. By the way, I just had the best food over there. And he was what? You know what I mean? He listened. He didn't interrupt. You know, I certainly don't get the sense that when Jesus was talking with someone, he was distracted and wanted to be elsewhere, even though he was heading somewhere important. Jesus was heading somewhere very important, but he didn't get distracted by that because there was someone in front of him that he cared deeply about. I love that. I love that right there. Jesus took the time and he truly listened. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we can learn a thing or two from Jesus, right? I mean, that's why we're here. And again, we can all learn something about each other if we just learn how to listen a little bit better. And I want to really just drive this point home. This past week, the events in the world will always be horrific. There will always be a tragedy. You know what we need to do? We need to become better listeners to the heartbeat of humanity. You can fill in that however you want. Well, don't fill in that however you want. Let me help you out. The heartbeat of humanity is the image of Christ in each and every single person. That's the heartbeat of humanity. And we need to become better listeners to what's going on in the world. And we need to really critically think about how we are responding to it. Because I don't believe that responding with knee-jerk reactions is ever a good thing. It might be right sometimes, you might get it right, but you might get it wrong. I think what we need to do is calm down, say a prayer, go to God, go to each other, say, how are we supposed to respond to this? Deal with your anger issues, deal with your loving issues. But navigate through it, but never do that under your knee-jerk responses. Right? We must act in a way that is wise and loving, and we hold others accountable. This doesn't mean that people go around doing whatever they do. That's what accountability, right? We need to be corrected and all that. But most of all, you can't do any of those things if you don't listen. And I believe that we as a people, as a human race, I'm not talking about Christians right now, I'm talking about we as humanity have become terrible listeners. We are terrible listeners. Not all of us, okay, but we as a whole, if you were up, had a bird's eye view and you look down, you can't tell me that God's saying they are great listeners. Right? They're doing everything I told them because they're great listeners. No, we are terrible listeners. So, let us all strive to be convicted to be quick to listen, especially to the Spirit of God, and respond to that in our hearts. Can we do that? It all starts with the person in the mirror. Okay? All right? Starts with you. Amen?